Hey everyone, welcome to this session. We're going to get started. We have about 2 minutes before the hour, so I'll give everyone time to file in. For those who are here, I can already see your messages. I was surprised by how early everyone got here, um, but I am curious. We have so many people joining, so I'm curious what industry y'all are in. Like, what jobs do people have that are within this audience? I sometimes find that a lot of our audience is mostly people in like the tech sector. But that's my like kind of like anecdotal evidence. So I'm curious what jobs y'all have, what sector you're in. So let me know in the comments, and then I'll let everyone kind of get ready. So we have about a minute left. Hi from Texas. Hello, Kelly. Hi, Colleen. Richmond, Virginia. I actually thought about moving to Virginia just about a couple of years ago. We ended up not doing it, but we visited and it was beautiful. I live in Texas, so the geography here is so boring, and Virginia was so beautiful. Okay, so I've got tech, finance, higher education, ad tech, supply chain, sponsorship, sales. Okay, paralegal. So pretty wide range. Accounting, operations. It looks like mostly like corporate office jobs. So not like a lot of I don't know, like construction worker, like blue collar jobs, kind of like that. So interesting. So people that just joined, I was curious what jobs everyone had. So they're all sharing that in the comments section. From Nigeria. Wow, awesome. Yeah, there's people here from all over. Joan from the Netherlands. Awesome. Okay. So we're going to get started. I'm going to hide the chat from the screen so that we can officially start. Excuse me. Welcome everyone. I'm so happy to have you here. I'm Sydney, the content manager here at JobScan, and I'm going to be joined shortly by Rachel Surwitz, and she's going to do a live LinkedIn profile audit. So you're going to get to see how to strengthen your presence on LinkedIn, which is so important. Recruiters use LinkedIn for sourcing candidates and evaluating candidates too. So this is going to be a really helpful session. Now, I know a lot of you are going to want to know if the session is being recorded. And yes, all of the sessions for this event are being recorded. We're offering the recordings to JobScan Premium members as a special perk for them. If you're not a premium member yet, then you can take advantage of a special promotion that we're running just for this event. So below me, you're going to see a ticker with a promo, with a URL. So if you go to that URL, you'll get 20% off of JobScan Premium. The discount will be applied automatically. And by the way, the 20% off is lifetime. So it's not just your first month or first quarter, it's forever. So take advantage of that to get 20% off. And then you'll also get access to the recordings, which we'll share, excuse me, after the event. So now I'm going to welcome to the stage our speaker, Rachel Surwitz. She's the CEO of Woken, an online career exploration platform to coach professionals through the process of clarifying their ideal job and career path. Throughout her career, she's helped hundreds of professionals with career exploration and has also served as an adjunct professor of entrepreneurship at Binghamton University. This all sounds so prestigious. And as a career coach through the Flatiron School, WeWork, Columbia University, and Project Activate. Basically, she's an expert. She's going to share all of that with you, along with some tips to leverage your presence on LinkedIn. So let's get started. Rachel, I hand it over to you. If y'all have questions, leave them in the chat. I'll be monitoring that. And then at the end of the session, we'll do a Q&A with Rachel. So Rachel, take it away.
All right. You can hear me okay?
Yes.
All right. Beautiful. Welcome. I'm so excited to be here. And we are going to just dive right in. As Sydney said, we are going to focus on our LinkedIn profile optimization and how to make the most of LinkedIn. So you already know about my background. I will skip right over that for the sake of time. So again, we are going to focus on the profile of LinkedIn today, but there are so many other ways to think about benefiting from LinkedIn, right? So you can look into connections and build your network. You can join in on a public conversation on your news feed. You can also direct message people. There's events. You can share your own thought leadership. You can research. You can even write articles. And there's so much that you can do. But for the sake of today, we are going to really zoom into what your profile should look like. But just remember, there's so much more to LinkedIn at large, right? And if we could take all day to talk about that. But again, for today, I'm going to really focus on your profile and how to make the most of it so that you can really be found for the right opportunities. And that's what we want, right? So I'm going to literally go through the profile top to bottom. Okay. So if you want, feel free to have your profile up next to the screen. But let's start with the top, right? The top of your profile is there's a background image and then there's a headshot. So when you think about that backdrop image, you see here we have this example from Nick, and he did sort of what I would call like a business card like background. If you go to a site like Canva or any sort of site like that, you can actually customize and write your name or write your job title or write your email address or anything like that to show your branding of who you are, your areas of expertise. That's one option for that backdrop image. Or, you can pick a picture, if you want to take that personal approach. Sometimes it's not the worst idea to just get to know people on a personal level. Maybe you're a scuba diver or maybe you hike mountains. And so you can put that backdrop image as something that you've seen before, a beautiful photo. You can also check for stock photos, or if you have a picture from you in the wild, right? Maybe you were on a panel, maybe you were at a conference. If there's something where you were doing your professional thing, maybe it's you at a computer doing software engineering, or maybe it's you doing, marketing activations and you're at an event and you're hosting an event. Whatever you do professionally, if there's a picture of you doing that, that could be the backdrop as well. For your headshot, right? This is the picture of your face. Let's make sure you're smiling. Let's make sure it's zoomed in enough so I can see your face. It's okay if it's not this like corporate headshot. It doesn't have to be you in a suit or anything like that. It's okay if it's somewhat casual, as long as it's appropriate and it's clear and we can see your smiling face. I like for it to be straight on. Some people get a little artsy with it, but we just kind of want to keep it simple. This is their one time to actually see what you look like. So just help them get to know you and make it clear, make it zoomed in enough, make it a smiling one, and if you're not sure, send some photos to a friend or a peer or a mentor or a coach and just see which ones they like the best and have somebody else's eyes on it. Okay, now this is one of the most important things. This is your professional headline. So this is the section right below your name, okay? It is so important to make sure that you come up in the right searches. So really think about using the full space. They're only going to let you have so many characters. I forget exactly if it's 30 characters or whatever it is. They're going to let you have 2 or 3 lines of text, right? And so you want to think about what are the keywords that are really those top keywords, whether it's your skills or whether it's really role titles of your intended direction. So you want to think about what are those top most important words that really describe who I am professionally, where I want to go professionally, and really choose wisely what is there. I would focus on hard skills. If you're thinking about softer skills, for example, I'm a great communicator, I'm a great team player, those can be described in the about section. So I would really focus on I don't want to say the buzzwords, but essentially the hard skills that really describe the role that you play, the function you play, technical skills, maybe even the industry you're in, something that's really specific and a really value add so that, again, you can come up in the right searches. And it's okay to make it a string of keywords. Some people do like a sentence structure. Personally, I think there's something about LinkedIn where we optimize for the technical algorithm here. And so we just want those words to be there. The sentences of how you describe your story, that can come in the about section, okay? If there's any key certifications, software tools, methods, concepts, industries, these are some good ideas for what to write. But again, the most important thing is role titles that are a fit for you, role titles that are commensurate for you and your areas of expertise. This is an example from that same person, Nick, where I showed you the background photo. So he's an event producer, brand activations, sponsorships, experiential marketing, event management, community engagement. Amazing. So a lot of these things coincide. These are skills that go together for his area of expertise. So even though it sounds like there's a lot there, they all go hand in hand for the path that he's pursuing. So that's the other thing to think about. You don't want to have so many words there and it looks like you're all over the place. These are words where his skills meld together in a brand that really makes sense. And they're really the most important words, the most important job titles that fit with him. Okay, I will keep going for now. Open to work, right? We have to set the settings as open to work, right? So right under your name, it's going to say open to. And you want to figure out what are those job titles you can add, right? Really be careful and use the search functionality wisely. When you go to hit add title, it's going to let you have up to 5. Think about the right function, the right level. Use the search capabilities to your advantage and see what are the right job titles that actually make the most sense for me in this search, where I can adjust my settings. And really think about it. If I'm trying to move quickly and land a job quickly, try to align what you're open to with the job titles that you've held before. So you can even slightly adjust your past job titles, but you really want to think about alignment between what am I open to and what is the background across of my profile and how do I show the alignment, right? If you're looking to pivot, of course, you can add job titles that are your target job titles, but then you want to incorporate keywords or even experiences across the rest of your profile so that if you're open to those roles, they see that you're actually pursuing those things. So really think closely, think hard and long about what it is I'm pursuing. What is my direction? What is my strategy? What role titles make the most sense? And let's make sure my profile is totally aligned with that plan. Okay. Professional summary. This is so important. This is your about section, right? And so we're going to talk through how to do this. This is sometimes probably one of the most difficult things that people struggle with, and that's because it's fully open-ended and you can structure this in so many different ways. I'm going to give you some ideas of how I like to structure it, right? But the thing to keep in mind here is that you want to be concise and yet comprehensive at the same time. That is the art. Try to organize the information. Sometimes people just tell a long story or they, have a lot of information, but it's like, how does it all make sense? Remember when we were all in high school and we had to be in English class and the essay had to make sense logically? It's the same idea here. Make it easy for people to find information and understand, what's going on in this about section, right? And of course, you also want to think about using keywords to optimize the profile and make it really relevant to where you're headed. Okay, so this is just an example. This is also from Nick's profile. So the 3-part framework, and I'm actually going to walk you through it, but you can see his example. He gave himself a role title. Then he talked about the core functional areas of oversight and his functional areas of expertise, as well as his industries of exposure. Then he has a sentence about his strengths and what he does really, really well, really special, really great. And then he talks about where he's headed next and what roles he's a fit for and what he's interested in doing. Background, strengths, direction. It's one of the most powerful, concise frameworks I can give you. I'm going to go into a little greater detail about how you could actually take this to the next level. But if you want to keep it simple, background, strengths, direction, super powerful. So here's sort of an enhanced, more detailed version of what I was just mentioning. So this is actually the template that you can follow if you kind of want to fill in the blanks. Give yourself a role title. What are your areas of expertise? What are your industries of exposure? What are those strengths? How and why are you so good at what you're good at? Be very careful here with that second sentence. A lot of people are very jargony. I'm a great communicator. I'm a great problem solver. Go deeper. What problems are you great at solving, and why are you so great at solving them? Or what about communication are you really great at? Who do you communicate with? Things like that. So just really dig deep if you are going to talk about soft skills. And then your direction. What's a fit for you? A lot of people worry that you're going to narrow yourself down if you tell them your direction. I actually think it's the opposite. You are going to make it easier for people to know how to help you and where you fit professionally. Tell them where you're headed next. This is another example, right? A data analyst professional with different areas of expertise across 2 different industries, their strengths, communicating project needs across varied stakeholders, turning data into stories, and they're motivated. Now, this is interesting. The third sentence, you can either be more sort of anecdotal about the work you want to do, or you can list role titles. So again, there's different options here, but this is just a way to really think about how to potentially structure this in a concise and yet comprehensive way. This is a more intense version. This is a little more detailed, but you see how I formatted this, and you can actually use the bullets. And you can, I don't know if they let you have bold, but you can actually use the semicolon. So if you want to space it out and format it like this, you can also format it, whether you want paragraphs or whether you want bullets. So really think about how to make it clean and clear, right? And so I don't hate the idea of doing like, background. And then I tell them my background, industries, tell them the industries, strengths. What are my strengths? Technical skills, list those software tools, certifications, direction. And guess what? If you want a little bit about who you are as a person, great, add that personal touch as well. So if there's any other relevant information, you can also organize it like this. There's so many other ways you can do it. Sometimes people just tell their life story, but I would really think about how to make it easy for people to get to know you with the most important information and to be able to do that quickly, right? Okay. The featured section, right? So if there's any articles, you can technically add your resume. You could add any sort of website, a portfolio. If there's any articles that you've written, blogs that you've written, if there's any articles that feature your work, anything like that, you can add a featured section and actually bookmark a few key links about you. If you've ever made a video, if you've ever been featured at all, anything like that. This is one of those sections that you can utilize for things like that. Anything that represents your work, it can go here. Okay. Now, the experience section, this is one of the most important things, right? And so it's got your company names, it's got role titles, and it's got a description. It also has relevant skills to each role. Of course, the dates should be accurate, the locations, everything should be clean and accurate. Gonna go a step deeper here. Okay. So if you're describing each role, I like to do a paragraph. I like to create a bit of a different read than the resume. It should still be in line with your resume, but why not make it easier for somebody to get to know you? I like to do a few sentences of a short paragraph, right? You also, again, always want to think about keywords in the role title field and in the description field. So here's a great framework for that description, right? So sentence 1, high-level overview of your areas of oversight, your responsibilities. What were you doing in that job? Give me the overarching, here's what I was in charge of. Sentence 2, highlight a key client, a project, an outcome, an impact, a metric, a success. Show that you're great at what you do. Sentence 3, this is open-ended. Decide what was relevant from that role that is basically relevant to what I want to be doing more of in my future roles. So it's an open-ended opportunity. 3-sentence paragraph goes a long way, and it's so much nicer to read a few paragraphs going down. When you have the resume bullets, what's going to happen is you see how it says see more, it's going to truncate the description. So we want that first sentence to be that overview, that overarching, here's what it is that I've done, and get to know me quickly, right? The other thing I would think about is the actual role title field. Make sure it's industry standard job title. Sometimes we are given a job title that is weird. The internal job title may not make perfect sense. It's okay to adjust it slightly if it's still accurately representing the industry standard job title for what it is you actually were doing. So be careful. You may have a reference check and they're going to say, when was Nick your event producer? Tell me about that. But again, just make sure those keywords in the role title field are also really relevant to what it is you did in that job and what it is you want to do more of going forward. So you can really fine tune the role title field and the description of each role. Okay. And of course, separate the roles if you had a promotion as well. That is another important thing to differentiate. Yep, recognize promotions, just mentioned that. Role titles, industry standard. I'm getting ahead of myself, right? The algorithm, again, is going to look at those keywords. You can even add skills next to the role title to expand on it. And of course, the skills right below the description, you want to add those as well. So use all the features, use all the space on the profile that you can. And of course, ensure that the logo appears for the company that you worked at. Okay, other key sections. There's settings and privacy. Go through all of your settings. Make sure you are as visible as possible. See if there's anything else you're missing. Education, of course, any schools you have attended, the degree title. Like, I would really pay attention to all the details, even in the education, right? Bachelor of Science in, right? Really check that everything is fully fleshed out, the accurate degree titles, any licenses, any certifications, any training that you've had. There's different places you can put this. There is a certification setting, a licenses section, but there's also sections for projects or volunteering. So really look at all of the sections. When I don't have a screenshot here, but when you go to the top of your page, it's actually going to say add profile section. So look through all of the potential sections that you can add, right? Any side gigs, any volunteering, any courses that you're taking. Of course, skills, right? The skills section, you can have hard skills, soft skills, technical tools that you're aware of, recommendations. Get at least one on your profile. Ask somebody to do it. You're actually going to have to go out of your way and email or text a former boss or a colleague or client or anyone that you've ever worked with and just say, can you take 5 minutes to write what was it like to work with me? What was my strengths? Do you mind putting that on my profile and show them how to actually do that on your profile so that you can make it easy for them. Any honors, any awards, organizations that you're a part of, languages, interests, this is a holistic, I always say this is the no page limit resume. So really just get it all, right? You never know what somebody's going to connect on, even if it's a personal, oh, you speak that language, or you're part of that organization, or you got that award. I also got that award, or whatever it may be, right? You never really know. And of course, checking your settings, as I mentioned. Additional tips, right? If you speak multiple languages, really be careful about, do I have 2 profiles in 2 different languages, right? I've seen somebody who is multilingual and then they had their French profile, but it was really the English profile. So be very careful about who's looking at it in what language. Thinking about using a creator mode, and that way you have more visibility to actually post and share your thought leadership, and even adjusting your profile URL, right? So simplify the actual link to where somebody can go see your profile, right? Instead of Rachel 1 2 3 4 5 6, you can actually adjust and customize, right? Tailoring. So this is the interesting thing about LinkedIn, right? You really want to think about your job fit. When you have a strong sense of clarity on where you're headed, you can brand yourself accordingly. Really think about your target job descriptions. Think about the keywords that you're seeing and think about how your materials can make sense. I've had a lot of people ask me, look, I can have multiple resume versions, but I can only have one LinkedIn version. What do I do about that, right? And so that's kind of why I'm like, well, we really got to figure out where you're headed, right? Why have 5 resume versions? If you have so many different directions or so many different options, really try to figure out who you are and what that path is and what the direction is that makes the most sense for you. And that way your LinkedIn profile will shine, okay? Making updates, right? So periodically, once a week, give yourself a 5-minute, 10-minute, 15-minute reminder and say, what were those keywords I was seeing in the job applications? How can I incorporate that into my profile, right? So incrementally, periodically, maybe once a week, really think about, what am I seeing? What am I hearing? What did people ask me about in those interviews? Where can I account for that in my profile, right? What are those job titles, right? And how do I leverage my learnings to infiltrate that into my brand and into my strategy? Okay. Versions, we talked about this a little bit, right? You can have multiple resumes, but you're going to have one LinkedIn, right? So why, really be careful with, thinking about so many different directions that you have. If you're not sure where it is you want to go, this is my bonus content. Know that career exploration is a process that you can follow. You can spend time learning and reflecting to really prioritize which role and which industry makes the most sense for me. So really spend that time. It's going to make your search more efficient. It's going to make your branding more compelling. It's going to make your interviews more compelling. And it's going to make sure that you land the right job that you really are a fit with. Okay. Super quickly, I'll tell you actually how to do that exploration process, right? So you're actually going to reflect on what are you great at? What are you most interested in? And what environment do you thrive in? From there, you're going to think about what roles and industries actually make the most sense. You're going to do research. And most importantly, you're going to network with people in your target jobs. You can do a little bit of upskilling as well, but most importantly, reflection. Really spend time making sure your direction is super, super, super clear. And that's really when you can start your branding and your search, right? That's really what leads to that job fulfillment. So make sure you spend time figuring out who you are so that you can represent all of that super well in your LinkedIn profile, right? So just so you know, this is what Woken does. I know we're here at the Job Scan event today, but please do get in touch and we'll see, of course, how we can help you. And I know we're going to be able to share our links with you after the event. And I think we've got ample time for Q&A at this point. I hope I didn't go too fast, but Sydney, let me know what questions I can answer.
That was great. That was so awesome. Yeah. And Rachel, feel free to go I'm going to go back to the slides. If you want to share, oh man, I can't get to the slides. Well, we'll try to share the links to your site in the comment section. Yeah. But yeah, that was awesome. So much valuable information there. We're going to do a Q&A. So people were asking about the recordings. The session was recorded. We're going to share them with premium Job Scan members. If you're not premium, you can join today and there's a 20% off link at the bottom of the screen. So let me get to some comments here or questions. Should your LinkedIn profile be an exact match with the resume? So the question is like maybe LinkedIn can have more details for each accomplishment. What would you say to that?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think in the experience section, right, that's kind of what we're talking about is how do you describe each role? So again, I don't love to just do the copy paste of the bullets. It's a way to describe it differently. It's a way to use a more sentence or paragraph format. Again, there's pros and cons, right? So sometimes, people may want to put all the bullets from their resume because it's like, here's all the detail. I just want it all up front. There's too much I have to say. And I already worked hard on this resume. Let me just copy paste it. There could be an argument for that. I think the paragraphs look really nice because it's a moment where you can just rethink what is the easiest way that somebody can read this concisely, give that comprehensive and concise overview. And yeah, you might be able to actually, because it's a paragraph, you might be able to add more context that didn't really fit in the resume. I don't know if I would add like a whole separate project that wasn't in the resume. If you have something so important, an achievement, that should be on your resume, but might you say it differently? So maybe the resume, you didn't have space to explain the whole story, but that second sentence of the framework, if you're explaining a key success or a key project, maybe you say, I had 3 weeks to deliver this report to the CEO, and I was able to analyze and, deliver the presentation, which adjusted the fundraising path for this company, or I don't know, I'm making it up, but like you might explain more anecdotally the situation of what happened. And that's still just one sentence, but maybe you couldn't get that all out in the resume. So it is a way to add, I guess, a little bit of context, but I don't know if I would really just add things that aren't in the resume. If something's so important of an achievement, it should be in both. I think you can just sort of style it a little different and just think about somebody reading your LinkedIn. They're, I love to just read those paragraphs quickly. It's like this nice story. Whereas the resume, people expect the bullets. It's quicker. They can jump to it, right? So I would just think about how somebody's looking at it, and how that difference may feel. But I don't know if I would make it like so drastically different. You want to feel like if a recruiter's looking at both of those, they're getting to know you, right? It's sort of validating. Maybe it doesn't need to be a copy paste, but it's like I'm getting the sense of this person. I'm getting the sense of the consistency here,
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. And I'll say like As a hiring manager, I don't know if other people do this, but I tend to spend more time on the LinkedIn profile. Like the resume is, I guess, because they're generally like quick hits, whereas the LinkedIn profile, there's like all these different places that you can go to. I spend a lot of time on the LinkedIn profile. So adding more detail, yeah, that makes complete sense.
Yeah, and I
Um,
mean, I've heard the same for even like a personal website.
oh yeah,
LinkedIn becomes like your personal website, but if you have
yeah.
another portfolio or another website, I've heard the same thing from hiring managers that they like to view that because it's more visual. You have
Mhm.
more opportunity. You can just sort of roll with it a little more. Resume, I mean, you still want to treat the resume like an art, but I think this is a really important reminder to job seekers that hiring managers want to look at that resume. They're spending more time,
Mhm.
sorry, on the LinkedIn and on a
Yeah,
portfolio, so take advantage of that.
yeah. Okay, next question. How can I manage a professional gap on LinkedIn? Wondering if it's a good idea to have a 6-month sabbatical on my profile. So that one's kind of more specific, but just the idea of career gaps, how could they approach that on
Yeah.
LinkedIn?
So LinkedIn does allow for the feature, right? It's like literally in your experience trajectory where you can add a very formal line item for a career break and the reasoning behind it.
Oh, okay.
I think that, sorry, I didn't put that in the slides. I probably should have. That It's I wouldn't say like everyone I would always recommend to either do that or not. I think it depends on the person. If you had some sort of sabbatical and you were, maybe taking care of a loved one, or you were actually taking a sabbatical and you were, traveling, or you were doing research on something, or you were exploring some entrepreneurial endeavors, or if there's a reasonable reason of what you were doing during that break, I think it's okay to add it if you think that that explanation is going to help somebody understand your story. But if you're like, you know what, this break, it's better understood if I just explain it, just
Hmm.
know that you will have those moments, you will have those conversations, you will have times in the interview to explain your story. So if something's easier for you to own that story verbally, you can leave it out and you don't have to use the career break feature. Sometimes I don't like to use the career break feature because it also takes up space. So in your experience section, I'd love to see you had this role, you had this role, you had this role. Great. Give me the juicy stuff of the
Mhm.
work that you've done so I can focus on that. So be careful of whether it's worth the space to actually explain the break versus you're going to do it in conversation, right? So how can you just own
Yeah.
that story when it comes time?
Yeah, I'll be honest, I don't care about career breaks. Like when I'm looking at a resume or LinkedIn profile, I don't even care because
Right.
I'm sure there was a good reason for it. And I'll ask them about it maybe, but it's like it happens. Like I don't care.
Exactly.
Um
That's why I'm like, do we need to call it out? Is it worth
yeah, it's
mentioning?
like I don't care.
Usually, truthfully, usually I don't call it out, but like I could see a person having a use case where they're like, I want this on here and this is helpful to me and this
Yeah.
is whatever. But usually I'm like, let's just let them focus on the work and who you
Yeah.
are. And like, you know what I'm saying? So that's
Yeah.
usually where I land.
Okay. Now, a lot of people were talking about AI headshots. So here's one of the questions, but there are a lot of people talking about AI headshots. Is it a good idea? You can kind of tell that it's AI. At least I can whenever I see it. So is that a bad thing if someone can tell it's AI? Is that off-putting? Have you gotten any feedback about that or any thoughts on if it's effective or does it matter?
Look, I've had people who, I've had talks where people are saying, like, oh, I know that on a resume, this was written in AI. I know on a cover letter, this is written AI. Now we're getting to headshots and pictures that are AI. I'm like, people are able to tell, right? Hiring managers are saying it. I don't ever see a time where like somebody's like, oh, I could tell the resume or the cover letter or the headshot was done with AI and it helped them. Meaning, AI helps you when you're creating things. So, for example, with resume or with LinkedIn, if you're like, I don't know how to phrase this, like talk to ChatGPT and like figure that out or ask it questions, learn from ChatGPT, but own your writing and own your story. Let it infiltrate your ideas. If it's a picture of you, like, I don't see a world where AI needs to be involved.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
That's just
Like
my
just
take.
being
I think in
you.
the end of the day, right?
Yeah.
A hiring manager is a human. They want to feel this genuine, authentic, who are you? And if you're really nervous about your picture, like get a peer, get a mentor, get a coach, get somebody to help you with that picture, get a professional headshot taken if you can, or just get a friend who can go outside on a sunny day with you. And like, again,
Yeah.
you don't have to be in a suit, but like, I'd rather just see you as you. Like, why do we need to
Mhm.
raise flags? Why raise questions? Why add more issues to this to the process that is already difficult, right? So use AI where it helps, right? Learning or jogging ideas or figuring out how to phrase things, but you're still the owner and the choice maker here of what gets published. And so, yeah, that's kind of my take on that.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So then, on the note of headshots, someone brought up how pictures show ageism, so they just don't do pictures. Now we're gonna have a whole session on this,
Yeah.
so you'll get more details. But I want to get your thoughts for LinkedIn. It like I would say it's better to have a photo on your LinkedIn profile, but what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. It's a really, really good point. I do agree that I would err on the side of having the picture there. And so again, if you're a more senior professional and you want to have a picture that has a little more touch-ups on Photoshop or a little filtering or a little whatever makeup or better lighting, you can adjust photos to like look good. I don't know if that needs to be AI. Like to me, if I'm a job seeker, I still want to feel like I was authentic in this process. Maybe I made my
Mhm.
picture look as presentable as possible. Maybe I had a great top on, really professional, and I looked confident or whatever it is. Or better yet, if you have a picture of you in the wild, if you ever have a picture of you with the mic, that you're on a panel, like get you showing, exuding confidence, right? And that's what's important. I think with ageism, you want to own the story as much as you can. Lead with the work you've done, the value you have. Networking becomes so much more important when you're a senior professional. But I agree, Sydney, that it's better to have the picture than not. And I realize some parts of this profile can create any amount of judgment. I get that. But I think with anything like LinkedIn and resume, there's always different advice and there's always pros and cons. But you have to understand both sides of like, what would it mean to not have a picture or to have a picture? And which one do I feel better with and why? So that's
Yeah.
how I would think about the double-sided advice that sometimes we hear, right?
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So here's a question that I think will actually help with a lot of other questions. How do recruiters approach LinkedIn profiles? I think the deeper question is, how do they? So they have do they use a software tool to scan a LinkedIn profile? So I don't know if they're asking like when they're looking at a profile individually, or how do they just use LinkedIn as a recruiter? Do you have insights on that? I think seeing it from the recruiter's point of view will help
Yeah.
job seekers to know how to format and what to put on their profile.
So LinkedIn, I don't know if everybody realizes this, but like LinkedIn has the, premium, like for example, for job seekers, LinkedIn has what they call Sales Navigator, which is for like actually people who work in sales to leverage LinkedIn and actually search profiles so that they can sell things to people. And then there's LinkedIn Recruiter. So recruiters have their own version of LinkedIn and they have search functionality, right? And so what it's doing, look, there's probably separate software, but within LinkedIn Recruiter itself, it is scouring people's profiles. And it
Mhm.
is looking, and that's kind of why when I just was doing all my slides, there's this balance between what is a human looking at on your profile, but also what are those technical keywords you have to optimize? Because we
Yeah.
do want to think about in these searches that are being done, how are you going to come up in the search? The way to come up in the search is to make sure that what you're open to is aligned with the rest of your background. They want to see that you've done the thing before that you're applying to. So
Mhm.
when you're open to work, aligning that with the rest, your headline, your about sections, your past role titles, things like that. They may look at other, companies you've been a part of and things like that. But yes, the technical part of LinkedIn is there is this backend, there is this algorithm that's looking at the keywords across your
Yeah.
profile. So, I'm sure all the other sessions today we're talking about resume, how to tailor those keywords. It's a similar idea on LinkedIn. Of what's happening. That all being said, there also will be a human reading your profile. So you need to think about optimizing for both.
Yeah. Yeah. So like just if like for people that don't know, they can look at your profile just like anyone else, but they also have a search engine portion where they can search for people that match certain criteria. And that criteria can be skills, years of experience, job titles, or they could just use a search field and put in any keyword, and then it will show profiles that have like any of those keywords. So it's just like a search engine. So that's why, like when you talk about like keywords and stuff, it's important to have that stuff. But then once they get to your page, make sure the larger context is helpful for what they're going to be looking for. Yeah. Okay, so then here's one that, again, a lot of people were talking about this one. I've heard people getting a lot of spam by putting open to work on. Thoughts on that? A lot of people were wondering, like, how do I avoid it? And I don't know if you have tricks for that, but like, is it worth it to have open to work on because of the spam you might get?
Yeah. It's a tough one. And truly, like this is a more, I'd honestly love to take a next step and a deeper dive with my peers who are actually recruiters, because the main difference is what happens is when you go to open to work and you go to your settings, there's, either you're just open to recruiters or you're open to everyone.
Mhm.
And that's when the banner shows on your picture, is because you said, I'm open to anyone seeing this. So at a bare minimum, you want to say, I'm open to just recruiters. And that's the most important thing. Truthfully, it's hard for me to answer what is the percent difference of the actual value that you get from going
Mhm.
that one step greater. I think a lot of people, again, there's these pros and cons. It's not just spam. People feel there's this I don't want to say like a stereotype or a stigma, but it's like the perception of the open to work. So I've heard a lot of people who get worried about that. Again, this is one of those things where as long as you understand the pros and the cons, you just have to ask yourself, would I rather just be confident, put it all out there and tell everybody I'm open and just be proud of that? Because look, I'm trying to move quickly and I'd rather people just know transparently. Or is it like, look, I've got a little time on my side. I just don't feel comfortable to like put it all out there. I would like to avoid this spam or whatever it is.
Mhm.
And I'm going to, leave it off. So I think as long as you're understanding the pros and the cons, it's a choice to make. And I think with job seekers, it often comes down to like, sometimes this is a dire situation and we're trying to move quickly. And to me, it's like, if you just want all cards on the table, we've got nothing to lose, we go for it. But if you're like, you know what, look, I don't need to like have everything airing
Yeah.
all my, stuff. That all being said, I don't think there's anything to feel shame about with doing the open to work, but I can understand why somebody would feel any sort of way with having it there. And
Mhm.
so if you're not comfortable, you don't have to. But truthfully, I need to go back to my recruiter peers and really ask them the question of what is the difference? Because as I mentioned, even if you don't have that open to work banner, you're still showing recruiters that you're open. And that is the most important thing. So really the second layer is, oh, is somebody a hiring manager or is just somebody that I'm networking with going to see this, who they may not have the recruiter profile, but it could still benefit me in my search
Mhm.
because they can quickly see that I'm open. Now, if you're doing all the right things and you're networking and you're getting informational chats and you're meeting people and you're doing what you need to do to actually get yourself in front of people, you may not even necessarily need that banner. Your branding of your profile is so important. If you're getting in front of people and you're having conversations and you're doing the right things, that's more important than like the 3 words on the picture,
Yeah,
right?
that will have a bigger impact. Yeah. Yeah, I think the question with the open to work is always like, does it make me look desperate? And I don't think we can answer that. And that's probably even more just a person by person basis in terms of like the recruiter. And do they think that the open to work banner makes someone look desperate? I know I
Well,
don't care. I'm
truthfully,
one.
right.
Yeah,
And
go ahead.
recruiters, we hope that they don't have that view. But I think it's going to take all of us to try to have this movement around there's no shame in job search. And I think that we all want to just simply educate the people professionally to just look at it differently. And so
Mhm.
part of having that open to work banner proudly is us educating the world that like, there's nothing wrong with this. I'm
Yeah.
open to work and that's totally okay.
Yeah.
Some element of this is like, are we making a stand? Or if you're like, look, I don't need to be the person solving the world's problems right now, and I just don't want to open myself up to that, that's fine.
Mhm.
But this is the difficulty, is like people may have those perceptions, but at the same time, we need to change those perceptions,
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so we have time for a few more questions. Here's one. What's your advice on the easy apply function? Do you recommend people use that, or there's the option to just click on like apply and go to the whole application? What's your advice usually on that?
From what I've learned and seen and heard, I think the easy apply is not as effective as I think we want it to be. It's effective in the fact that it's easy. Is it doing what we want with results? I'm not sure if that's there. Now, that being said, every role is different, every industry is different, whether you're entry level versus senior. There's so many ways to think about this differently based on your level, your title, your function, things like that. So, honestly, a lot of this is an experiment. If for some reason you're in a field where maybe it's really technical, maybe you're entry level, maybe those easy apply are getting you hits for good things, great. Try it. But if you're doing something after a week or two or three and you're like, it's getting me nowhere,
Mhm.
it may not be your best tool. So I think it's an interesting thing, truly, for the team at LinkedIn to actually be studying.
Yeah. Does
It
it
is
work?
technically easy, but with job seekers, the one of the most important things you have to do is think about your time. And it's very easy to get swept up in the one click or whatever it is. But take that step back. And if you haven't already, as a job seeker, have a schedule. Because when you decide for yourself that maybe you're only going to spend 20 minutes a week on Easy Apply, you start to measure it like an experiment. And you're going to say, you know what, let me try this for X amount of time. And if it's working, great. If not, I'm going to know that by week 3 or 4, and then I'm going to stop doing it. So really treat everything like that experiment. Where's your time going? Measure what's working, measure what's not, and adjust accordingly. But I think it's an
Yeah.
important question to call out, because with job search, we get very swept up, even just online applications in and of itself. I mean, we
Mhm.
know we need to be networking, but it takes discipline to say, okay, let me just not apply right now. Let me go speak to a human. Let me go have an informational chat. Let me go do something else that's productive. So all of this takes discipline, with, where is your time best spent?
Yeah. Okay, let me get one more question. This was kinda surprising to me. So the what is verify status about? Is it worthy to verify? Is it worth it to verify? The thing that surprised me was just that there were so many people concerned about this, and I think because in the job search, it's like you're just paranoid, you wanna do everything right. So, do you know much about, like, verification? Is it worth it? Does it matter? Should they not do like, there's some people who are like, "I will not do that." What are
Mm.
your thoughts on that feature?
You know what? Again, I would have to check from a recruiter standpoint. Really,
Mhm,
there must be context behind that feature. Truthfully, it's
mhm.
like, why did this even come about in the first place? Is like my
Yeah,
question. Um, Look, for me, I did it. Like, it takes 2 seconds and I'm okay with it. It's the type of thing where when I tell people to go to their settings, go to visibility and be as visible as humanly possible, a lot of people are not always comfortable with that. But like, this is one of those moments where, yeah, I want my email address to show publicly. And like, maybe that incites some spam, but it
mhm,
also allows a recruiter to email me. So it's one of those things where it's like, if they're asking me to verify, I'm going to verify. But everyone's different with their level of comfort with like online security and what does this mean
oh,
and what do I have to
yeah,
do and is that something I'm
yeah,
comfortable with? So you don't have to. I don't think it's going to be the thing that makes or breaks you. But like you said, as a job seeker, I'm kind of like, look, they're giving me the thing. I want to stop seeing this pop up, and I'm just going to do it. And that way, my
yeah,
profile looks and gives this semblance of as much completeness as humanly
mhm,
possible. When your LinkedIn is fully fleshed out, it gives this presence of, I'm a thought leader. I'm not just the person that does the job, but I'm a person who can represent your company. I'm a person that takes my professionalism seriously. I'm a person that wants to show you who I am and my voice and what I've done. And, it shows your attention to detail. It used to be the resume, oh, we need to show our attention to detail. But now the LinkedIn, it shows that you go above and beyond. It shows that you take initiative. So if these small little things are there, just I say go for it, but don't
yeah.
quote me on, like, I'm not the online security expert here. So, like, what are they doing on the back end with that data? I can't tell you, right?
Yeah,
But I'm kind of like, let's do all the things. They give me
yeah,
features to add profile sections. Great. I'm going to tell them as much as I can about me, right?
yeah. Yeah, I can understand that. It's like just it's probably not a make or break, like you said. There are higher value things you can do,
Yes.
but if you're not, concerned about security, then definitely go for it. And if you are, I don't know if there are security issues, so that would be a question for someone else. But it's just a small thing, so it's like, yeah, you might as well. Yeah.
Exactly.
Um, okay, that was great. So much information. Thank you so much. Y'all can see the promo code to get 20% off. Um, Rachel, so they can find you on LinkedIn, right? Just
Yes.
Rachel Surwitz, and they can
Yes.
connect with you because you also offer coaching, right? Through Woken. That's what Woken
We
offers.
do, yes. We
Okay.
do sessions, we have software, we do texting, emailing, we have group coaching, group co working. We offer lots of different things to make sure you all get the support that you need during job search. I know how difficult it is. This is why I devote my life to this. I'm here for all the things. So yeah, we've got a lot of different ways that we can help.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. Thanks, everyone. Our next session is on interviewing. So, interview prep with our lead recruiter, Kyle Law. That's going to be starting in about 10, 12 minutes. So, I'll see you.